band is the sum of its parts. Just switching bass players or switching guitar players or switching singers is obviously the big one that people think about, and switching drummers, it can change a band completely, and often does, and usually not for the better. I mean, for me, some of the best bands in the world have been guys that have stuck together over the years, and four guys in a room or five guys in a room smashing it out, working together and compromising and making the pieces fit, and that's cool. But I've done that my entire life. I just wanted to see what happens if I didn't do that.
What's up, everybody? Okay. It's Keefy with GhostCultMag.com. I am super stoked to be joined by Harry Armstrong of Noisepicker and Orange Goblin and Hangnail and a bunch of other projects. How are you doing today, Harry?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Doing good. It's good to talk to you, Keith.
It's so nice to meet you. I have been such a fan for a long time, and I really love this project. I can't say enough good things. I appreciate Dave and Earsplit PR for putting us together for this. And I know we're across the globe thanks to technology. It's not always perfect. So I really am, I don't take any of these for granted. For years, I only did interviews in person, whether I was in, here in the States or when I was over in Europe. And then the pandemic happened. So now it's all on these devices. But I still feel like this is better than nothing. And I get to chat about you about awesome things like your new record with Noisepicker. The Earth Will Swallow the Sun, the ominously titled album on the great Exile on Mainstream label.
Well, doing these interviews like this is good for me. I'm old enough to remember back in the day I used to have to go to the record company office and sit by a phone all day, and that was kind of a bit of a drudge. Whereas here I'm just at home, I can have a beer, just chilled out. I like it. So
I'm sure fine London. I'm sure London, Chicago, LA, New York still do some headquarters interviews and things like that. I kind of do miss those press days around the conference table. And again, I used to thrive on doing these in person in the bowels of every club in Brooklyn and elsewhere. And Boston.
That is the best way to do it. Yeah, definitely.
A little bit, shoulder to shoulder. I can look you in the eye. There's never any, just like text, just like any other form of communication, there's always a risk, an inherent risk of not being understood. But I've heard nothing but great things. I know you're very down to earth. I interviewed Ben for Orange Goblin way back in the day. So, huge fan. And Noisepicker is really fun. I know that you live in another part of the country from each other. So I wanted to kind of ask, what drew you together in the first place?
Well, we didn't always live in a different part of the country. I was born and raised in London. That's how I know the Goblin guys. But I moved down here to deepest, darkest Hampshire just to get out of the city for a while, a little bit. It's getting a bit too crowded for my taste. But I'm only an hour away on the train, so I still nip up there for gigs and stuff. But I met Kieran because he was working in my local bar. But he's since my idea was I was tired of people quitting bands because they're having kids and getting old and stuff. So when I met him and saw him play drums and thought he was fucking brilliant for a start, I thought, right, I should get this guy in my band because he's only 20 years old. He's not about to run off and get married or have kids and stuff. But then he sodded off to university in Manchester, which is about 300 miles away. And now he's moved to Norfolk with his girlfriend. And we barely see each other. But we're still good friends. And technology like this helps us to kind of make music as well. So, it's not all bad.
Yeah, the working music game seems to be a younger person's game. I recently joined a new band for the first time in like 15 years because I just felt like I needed a creative outlet. But I had stopped doing music to do journalism. So here's all my folly come back upon me. I totally relate to this. Luckily, I live in the same town as my bandmates. We are very heavily a UK centric brand still, and a lot of our writers and team are there, and we have coverage in Manch all the time, and I'm very thankful for all the venues and bands that are from the scene there. But Kieran is fucking great, by the way. He there's no secret weapon, but his drumming powers this whole thing. I'm really fascinated to talk to you about singing and songwriting and styles and stuff like that. But Kieran, at first glance, his drumming is breathtaking.
Yeah, he'll be stoked to know that. He was going to join us tonight, but he couldn't, unfortunately. But I'll tell him that you said he sucked.
Oh no, my reputation is besmirched. It's over. No, I'm sure when we get around to the review, it's going to be glowing. He killed it, and especially considering such an interesting stylistic approach across different things. Obviously, you got a lot of influences. People know you from one thing, but you've been, Hangnail's its own entity. I know you've had a bunch of other bands. I really do feel like this kind of stands on its own. It's very unique. It doesn't sound like anything else, even if it kind of calls back to its influences. Really cool that way.
That's really great to know. It's really, I just wanted to do something that was just from my mind and not have to kind of compromise with other band members, for want of a better way of putting it. So yeah,
That is the whole deal, man. It's,
I
when you have a
I
whole
wanted to do a record that sounds like it sounds in my head for a change instead of how everyone else wants it to sound. If you know what I mean.
Exactly. I think like a lot of people don't appreciate, especially long working bands. Veteran bands don't, they edit themselves less. Like, oh, I know how to make a song that sounds like what I make, so this is what it is. And then obviously when you put any song into the hands of another person, it's going to change. Even if they play exactly what you tell them, their fingers on frets, their voice, their lyrics, their beat is always going to
shift. Absolutely. A band is the sum of its parts. Just switching bass players or switching guitar players or switching singers is obviously the big one that people think about, and switching drummers, it can change a band completely, and often does, and usually not for the better. I mean, for me, some of the best bands in the world have been guys that have stuck together over the years, and 4 guys in a room or 5 guys in a room smashing it out, working together and compromising and making the pieces fit, and that's cool. But I've done that my entire life. I just wanted to see what happens if I didn't do that, and was a bit more stubborn.
Yeah, we just saw Mastodon lose a member after 25 years. He wasn't a founder, but he'd been so integral to the success of the band. I'm sure people, their fan base freaked out. I think people were, understandably upset, but also this does happen. We're all getting older, and the music industry, even at a successful level, a highly successful level, is tough. It's tough to be out here and do this for a living.
Yeah.
And
it's
much
difficult.
respect, especially when you've got a gang of people going in, sometimes not the same direction, or, oh, I'm tired of this, I want to do something else with my life. And, I don't want to tour as much. You're hearing that a lot now. We saw Nico McBrain retire from Iron Maiden. Like, I know I'm using the biggest examples, but you see it across the board and on down.
Yeah, but it is a young man's game, though. It is a young man's game. Days of driving up and down, hundreds of miles in the back of a van with no seats on it, and just getting drunk enough to fall asleep on a cold floor somewhere because you can't afford a hotel and all that. It's fun, but I'm in my 50s now. I don't really want to be doing that. I'd like a comfortable bed and a glass of wine at the end of the night. Thank you very much.
It's really hard on you personally to tour, even the weekend bands, or like a week here and a week there. It's just tough on you. And really the music is the thing, just like you said, obviously you're getting this to express this part of you that you haven't put out. Let's talk about the songwriting first and foremost, because I love, like, it's still the songs are really well put together, but it's definitely like across a lot of different flavors for you. And I love your vocals, and such a cool approach to different kinds of vocals. You said you had that sound in mind already, but like when you were fleshing the songs out, there's certain material, just say, this is what this needs. I need to do this kind of voice here, and then I can do a more melodic thing here. Cause I really like this, like across the whole album, I really like the different kinds of vocals.
Oh, that's cool of you to say, man. I don't think with that there was any real kind of pre-thought about it. All I wanted to do was just write ideas, and whether that or not it's a metal idea or a jazz idea or a lounge bar idea or a mellow idea or a heavy idea, just start working on it and start, laying some drums on it, laying some guitars on it, and then the vocals kind of form around that, and if the song's got a certain feel to it, then that kind of dictates how I'm going to sing it. I mean, I'm a fan of a lot of different singers, and I'm a big fan of not auto-tuning or over-compressing vocals and all that shit. I like hearing, Otis Redding's voice cracking when he's going na-na-na-na-na and all that. I want that shit on my records. One take, live, honest vocals, and that's the only thing I was definitely concerned about, is just going in, doing 1 or 2 takes, pick the best one, bam, job done, keeping it as fresh and as honest as possible, really. So as far as writing goes, the vocal direction was dictated by the riffs, really, I guess, and my love of various different singers. I love Tom Waits as much as I love Lemmy. I love Otis Redding as much as Ronnie James Dio. So it's just having a broad spectrum to play with, I guess.
Right on. I hear the Waits thing for sure, and Otis was incredible. I had a bootleg tape for years of the Atlanta Pop Festival, and the 2 headliners were Jimi Hendrix and Otis, and I would watch that tape on a loop for years in my formative years.
Otis, it's like, I've seen the Otis Redding footage of that. It's fantastic.
Yeah, phenomenal stuff. And Waits, man, is I think, like, not just the voice, but also like I know you're trying to not just make music for the sake of making. You're telling stories from wherever in your subconscious or your conscious. And I love that, like Waits' voice is so effective because it's kind of it's not typical. He never had a typical, crooner kind of voice, but in his own way, he's so great at conveying a story or a meaning or a word, even down to a phrase. So
Oh,
powerful. And I
absolutely.
think you're pulling some of that off here because, like, I love the change ups between the songs. Here's a more aggressive song. Here's a more moody, laid back song. And I love the
Yeah,
differences. It
I
really
guess
the whole
in
record.
some way that's influences from Tom Waits. Really, there's a lot of his albums where he will, I've met people who said that, oh, Tom Waits can't sing, he just goes Cookie Monster all the time, but that's not the case. There are some beautiful melodies on some of his albums, and he does switch between a kind of low, comfortable sadness and a gruff anger. Yeah, so that's a huge influence on me. I've got quite obviously, I think, really, and I'm not
Right.
ashamed of it.
Yeah, of course. Were you ever a Nick Cave fan? I also get some of those vibes too.
Weirdly, I should be. On paper, I should be. I've tried to get into him. I've seen him live a few times. I've got a couple of his records. There's something about it that doesn't quite connect with me. It's good, but for me, I find myself drifting off when I'm listening to Nick Cave a little bit sometimes, which is weird because I should like it. I've tried a few times. Maybe I just haven't heard the right record, or I don't know. But I've seen him live
Yeah.
twice and just kind of
Yes.
started getting
Brilliant.
distracted and looking at the decorations on the
Oh
seats and
no.
things.
Well, even some of the guitar work has kind of a little birthday party. The early Jesus Lizard, I thought of. I was like, oh, this is a fun approach to some guitar licks and work, and then obviously contrasted with the heavier stuff. So I think it all kind of works. Fair enough on Nick. I felt like there might have been a little thing there, but all good. We all have our. I definitely like artists. People love, and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, I don't know why I've never connected with Nick Cave. I should try again, I think.
Yeah, Frank Zappa had something to say about forming your own taste is like essential to being a true artist. It's like you can't if you like what everybody else likes, it's probably something wrong with you. You
Oh,
can't like everybody in the bit. Yeah,
and you're kidding yourself as well if you can't be honest about your musical taste. I mean, what's the point? It's like nobody's right or wrong. There is no right or wrong in music. If you like something, you like it. If you don't like something, then you don't like it. It doesn't mean it's shit or that it's bad that someone else likes it. It's just you've got to be honest. I don't want to listen to a record that somebody else likes and go like, oh yeah, this is great, when I'm not into it. But at the same time, there's plenty of records I want to put on in the house, and I wait till the wife's out.
right
and
on.
and she'll
I
do the
get that.
same for me. You know what I mean?
Oh, nice. Okay. I'll follow that up with a later question. I imagine like did you just pick up a guitar to start working on this material and it immediately was like, oh, new band, or were these ideas you had it lingering around? I always feel like every guitarist or bassist has riffs just sitting in the back pocket for that rainy day, but it
Yeah,
could be
there's
me.
just yeah. I think like every guitarist I've ever spoken to and every songwriter I've ever spoken to is the same. They've either got a notepad or a dictaphone or just a mobile phone, just full of an idea that comes to them in the middle of a fucking supermarket or on a train or something. And I think we're all the same, just humming into our phones all the time. When it gets to the point of you've got some spare time, like we finished the Orange Goblin album early last year, and I thought, right, what am I going to do? Let's go through all these recordings, and most of them are shit. But I found 10 that I liked and went, okay, let's work on these. But yeah, it's just generally I like sitting at home, just strumming and not having an idea of what's going to happen, and just let the song kind of create itself almost, if you know what I mean. Pull it out of the ether and go from there.
Right. And then once Kevin put his parts on, did the songs change much at all, or did Kevin just play to what you created?
Kieran,
Oh,
he
Kieran, sorry.
yeah, no worries. Um, I get people's names wrong all the time. I've got the worst for it. Thank God for the words. All right, mate, because I can't remember people's fucking names. Anyway, yeah, he brought his own flavor to it. I kind of demoed everything and emailed them over to him. With just me either like tapping out a really bad drum pattern on a keyboard or using a loop, or sometimes even he calls it drunken beatboxing because I've sent him recordings of me going into a fill. There's various ways we put it together, but yeah, he's understood the concept of what I've been trying to do, and he has added his own flavor and done it thankfully brilliantly. I really love what he's done on it. So it would have sounded different with a different drummer, and so I'm glad we didn't have to get one because he's done a great job, I think.
Again, so gratifying. I'm not even a drummer. I'm a singer and bassist by trade, but I'm always concerned with the drums and what the drums are doing. And
Oh,
you
they're
can
the
always tell.
foundation of everything.
yeah, like the drums need to push everything. That's just always been I think I also grew up listening to a lot of jazz and classic rock. So I think that kind of formed in my brain. The drummer has to push the movement of the music and the sound. But yeah, what a killer record. I'm so happy for you about this, and I'm glad you have other projects to lean on. I know you have a show coming up at the Blackheart venue we've been at many times as an organization, not me personally. I'm overdue for a trip to London, but you know,
Come over.
yeah, I need to. Not probably not in time for this show in early April, but absolutely eventually. I'd love to meet you at the pub and have a drink.
Let's do it.
We'll probably there will be a future Ghost Cult night in London at some point in the next few years. I promise. What like in terms of your hopes to translate this to a live environment? Do you envision you being able to play the whole album live? Do you think you would? Some of the songs would take different shapes live, maybe even, or just kind of a straight up performance of what's put down.
I think it's more a case of them taking on their own form. I think to begin with, at least we'll be. I mean, we have played a couple of gigs and like road testing these songs, and there are bits on the album where there's more than just the two of us going on, where I've overdubbed little ebos or even some bass and stuff. For the sake of the first few live performances, we'll be trying to give it a different direction and a different feel, and so it's a slightly different animal. Just if I go to a gig, I don't really want to hear the album played exactly as the album is anyway. I like when bands take it somewhere else and give it a new flavor or a new energy, and I think that's the plan at the moment. We're going to smash it out between the two of us, have a wall of amps, make it loud and angry, and see if it works. Basically,
I like it. We're a Noisepicker. We play rock and roll. That would be welcome. It would be appropriate.
Yeah, it's an organic thing, We're not going to use click tracks or samples or loop pedals or any of this modern technology stuff. We just want to get on stage, two people, and make a row, and it will be slightly different from the album, but hopefully the songs will be recognizable to someone anyway.
Right on. Yeah, right on. I imagine the call will come out to you eventually for some touring or some festivals. I can totally see it. Love to see you. Our friends over at Roadburn would be wonderful to have you out there. Or on a nice package bill.
Yeah, we played Roadburn a couple of years ago. That was good fun. But I think this new album is a lot stronger than the previous album, so I'm really looking forward to taking this one out there. But also, we haven't planned it very well, though. I think I've been so busy with a couple of other bands that I'm in, I forgot that nowadays, if you want to book a tour, you've got to be booking now for 2027. It's I'm kind of like, let's go on tour. Everything's booked up. Every venue's booked up until another year. So we got to either wait for people to cancel or just get lucky or start booking for 2027 or something. But either way, we're going to be doing some gigs.
Yeah, you can grind it out locally in the meantime, and I think a certain enough of your fans will come support this project. This album's awesome. Can you talk about anything else you have going on other than what we know about with Orange Goblin?
No, well, those guys have decided to call it a day now, which is fair enough. They're just doing this year. Got a bunch of stuff lined up. It's been a kind of positive response to it, really. There's been lots of gig offers from festivals and stuff, so we're going to be quite busy. But again, that's taken up a lot of my weekends that I might have booked a Noisepicker gig for. So but yeah, that's going to run up until I think there's going to be some final gigs in the UK in December, although I'm probably not allowed to say anything about that. But what the fuck?
Yeah, get that out.
Yeah, just leave it in. Nobody will notice. They won't watch it.
Probably.
But yeah, it's. I understand their decision for it. They've been playing the same songs for 30 years. They're all battle worn and bruised from the life of touring. So fair play. But I'd like to do some more, and them calling it a day has given me the time to do Noisepicker. So I'm quite happy. I think everyone's happy about the decision, really.
Yeah, it's understandable. Do you have any personal favorite moment from your history in the band, and any things that are going to stay like treasured with you for a long time as a result of Bloodstock or European festivals or things like that? Is there any like favorite singular show or memory with the band or album you're most proud of?
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of fun. I mean, I like just making a noise with my friends, whether it's to 5 people or 5,000 people, really. I mean, we played Hellfest in France. That's a kind of a standout one because we were headlining one of the smaller stages, and Metallica were on the big stage and Carcass were on the stage over here. We're like, no, who the fuck's going to come and watch us when that's going on? But ended up the place was rammed. It's a really good atmosphere, and we had a lot of fun. So yeah, I enjoyed that gig quite a lot. But you know, I've also played gigs, like I say, where nobody's turned up and we're just playing to the bar staff and the other band, and I've enjoyed that just as much. It's just, you know, sometimes it's fun. Having fun is having fun. Really, you don't need a big crowd for it. But yeah, Hellfest would probably be, if I had to pick one gig. I can't remember when it was, 2 years ago now, I think. But yeah, that was a good one.
It's probably going to go down as the greatest Hellfest ever. That was the comeback from the pandemic year, and like it was 2 weeks of Hellfest, and it was like, how could they even do this? They're never going to top this. This is insane.
Yeah, it was insane. It was insanely hot
as well.
Yeah,
it was super hot. I remember seeing the last US Orange Goblin tour, and the place was packed out, probably sold out. And I was even like really proud that my city at the time sold out that show. I was like, this is fantastic. This is what we need. And the band was killer and just came out and played, no fancy effects, just here's our songs, metal. And the crowd was into it. It was, you know, just like a real great confluence. It was a good package, I seem to recall. And I just remember like thinking about my long history as a fan. I was like, this is very, you know, like we have a band that's been around for like 35 years that's still rad. And I was very grateful that night.
Ah, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. Yeah, they've always been a great live band, no matter how drunk they got.
Nice work. Just to wrap this up, I always like to end with a wild card question. I pick a special wild card question. I can't say words today because I have only had a cup and a half of coffee. But
shit, sorry, man.
I try to pick a special question for everybody. So the question I have for you is, what is your favorite song to play live in any project you've ever been in?
I don't really know, to be honest with you.
The song you never get tired of.
I'm hoping some of the songs off this new album might be one of them, but otherwise, I mean, in Hangnail there was a song called Side Slide that was always fun to play. In Orange Goblin, there's a song called can't remember what it's called now. It's got a really offbeat. I've forgotten the bloody title. I'm going to get slaughtered for that. So I'll go with Blue Snow from Orange Goblin. And I sing in a band called Blind River that does a song called Acid Tongue that I really do like playing live because it's got a really slow, dirty groove to it, you know. So that's one of them. On any different day, it'd be a different answer as well. Yeah. Nice
work. Slow grooves forever. Probably on the new album, I think Chew or Start the Flood and the title track are probably going to stay with people a long time. Chew, the video for Chew was fun. I know you worked on that, and I do like Start the Flood. That's kind of like my vibe. I like the songs.
I've got the puppets hanging up in the background here somewhere.
Oh, no way. That's amazing. Yeah, great job on that video. It was very jarring and cool and different.
Oh, cheers, man. Yeah,
maybe is that something you want to do?
Yeah, that was it was kind of caused by the point of me and Kieran hardly ever being in the same room. I thought, how can I make a video when he's on the other side of the country, get puppets that look a little bit like us and try and blend it together. So, but yeah, I do enjoy making the video side of things, really. It's when you get an idea, it's good fun. I mean, that's another thing. I've been in bands where I've had ideas for videos and the rest of the band have gone, no. So it's never happened. But there's no one to tell me no in this band, so I get to do what I want.
And you might have a hidden talent. Maybe people will engage you to do some videos for them. I can see it happening.
Who knows? Who knows? I like doing it for fun, and I like having no one to answer to. So,
we'll see. Thanks. The Earth Will Swallow the Sun is the new album from Noisepicker, Harry Armstrong, also of Orange Goblin, a bunch of other projects. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today, man. It was a real treat for me to get to know you and hear your story and share it with our audience. Thank you. Best of luck.
We'll
continue to follow you and support you, whatever you do beyond Orange Goblin and more. So keep it up, man.
That's much appreciated. Thanks for helping us spread the word. It's we do it anyway, but it's nice when people give a shit. So thanks, man.
Well, we give a lot of shits. Cheers. Have a great one.
You too, mate. Thanks again.